It's time to talk NASCAR again on Prime Sports Network as we preview the Food City Dirt Race from Bristol Motor Speedway, a favorite of ours here on this channel. So,
Yeah.
so Eric, we got to deal with one of these races again. The good news is, I guess, is at least we're going to try it at night, and maybe that'll improve things.
We'll see. Yeah. The nighttime's the right time for dirt tracks. That's why if you see your local dirt track, if you're have one around you, it usually runs at night because you get the natural moisture. Everything it's better to have dirt at night, just the moisture, everything in the track. So yeah, last year, you remember the race got so dusty, and they had to do single file restarts because you couldn't see, and that's because you run during the day. Well, now we're at night, so that should help. However, I don't agree with running on Easter night when you're not going to have the crowd I think they're expecting on an Easter night race. So I like the idea of moving it tonight, but this is probably the wrong weekend for it.
Yeah. And look, if they don't pull out a crowd, and if the racing isn't any better, and I don't think it get worse, then I hope they don't decide to bring this back again.
No, I think they're going to have to look at the metric because I'll applaud them on that. They're changing the schedule around a lot. You either got to perform or we're changing. And the whole reason they went to this race was the crowd was lacking in the spring race, and they were afraid, hey, we may lose this date. So let's think of something outside the box. Let's bring a dirt track. Let's put dirt on Bristol, and maybe we'll get people to come. Well, you got a little more people last year, I'd say, over the past spring dates to see, well, what is this? Well, kind of was a flop because it rained. It's supposed to be at night. It rained, ended up being there in the day, and it just wasn't ideal. Well, they adjusted. Let's do it at night. So, okay, here's the problem. Easter night. Who's traveling on Easter to go to Bristol Dirt Track? That's going to be a hard sell for a family. Plus, there's not a lot near Bristol. A lot of people, like when I go there, we stay in Gatlinburg. That's about an hour and a half away. Who's going to want to, hey, family, let's go to a night race on Easter.
Might as well stay at my house.
Stay an hour away. Yeah, there you go. A lot of drivers drive back. So it's just a hard sell. So I don't honestly, I'll be shocked if it happens and I'll eat crow, but I don't see how this crowd is going to be bigger than the previous.
Has the attendance been better overall this season?
Yeah, I think the tracks have had a positive. I'd say, yeah.
So that should.
I think most races have gone up.
So that should. Well, that puts more pressure on them then. So they need to have a good. I guess you could look at one of two ways. Then, if there is good attendance, you could say, well, but that's just because attendance is up overall. But if it's down, then there's no excuse at all.
No, and I don't see how it goes up. I truly don't. I don't know how it goes up over last year.
I don't know either.
Now, if you, like we talked about in the last show, if you ran this on a Saturday night, I think it could help. It could be an Easter present for people. You could still get back home.
Absolutely.
On Easter. Not on Easter night.
No, makes no sense.
I just don't see how this is. No, you're trying. And here's the other thing. The tie to this is we've talked about this in past shows. The big demographic right now you're trying to capture is the 18 to 49 group for the TV ratings that get them involved. And you want the younger generation.
Okay.
You want to see what the future is. NASCAR's got arguably one of the worst numbers out there. Formula One is killing NASCAR in those numbers. IndyCar doesn't have the greatest numbers, but they're getting on par with NASCAR in that demographic. So that's showing you their fans, that age group, want kind of the exotic racing. They're trying to go to that angle. Well, NASCAR's got a prime opportunity. Those numbers are starting to rise a little bit in that category. They're not where they need to be, but they're rising. What about an Easter night race? Is that going to attract that viewer? The kids can't watch it. It's at night. It's Easter night. Kids are probably on sugar highs, and they're going to be crashing, and they're going to be going to bed. You can't take them to the race because it's too late. There's nothing around there. So how does this race going to hit that demographic that you desperately need? So I just don't feel like it's – if you were going to try this race, you should have tried it last weekend or next weekend. This weekend just – there's a reason that they don't race on Easter very often.
Yeah.
There's a reason for this. This is the 20th time. 17 of them were from 1952 to 1971. The last time was 1989, and that wasn't even a scheduled Easter race. It was because it snowed in Richmond. They used to run Richmond the week after Daytona. Well, as we saw Martinsville last weekend, it can get cold in Virginia in April, let alone February. So they just moved it to Easter. So it wasn't even scheduled for then. So there's a reason it hasn't really worked.
They always took the week off.
Always observed Easter, and that's
how do you go from taking the week off to racing on Easter? I mean, you could at least do it on Saturday, which we just talked about. It's just weird. Yep. It's like they went to the exact opposite dynamic of not racing on Easter at all to doing it on Easter night.
Yeah, and they, like we talked the last show, and they did it they want, maybe this will be our holiday. NBA's got Christmas Day, and
not with the dirt, it ain't going to be no
Thanksgiving
holiday.
Day. No, and the key is Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Day. You're going Easter night. There's a difference there. That I bet you, if you look, the ratings to the Thanksgiving night game is not as high as the Lions or the Cowboys day game.
That's the way I feel.
Yep, and the NBA day games on the ABC at noon and 3 or whatever probably rate higher than the Christmas night games. So what makes you think this is going to be a hit on night? There's too many factors going against it. I just feel like it deserves another chance, just not this weekend. Or maybe they're wanting to flop. Maybe this was the goal.
Right.
It'll flop and we'll go back. But yeah.
Okay, we hope so. All right, so last year there was only one Toyota in the top 16. And considering that Toyota, and again, it's just a coincidence, I'm sure, because Toyota, I'm just saying Toyota didn't have a good week last week. They didn't have anybody in the top 5 and only 2 in the top 15. So they're coming off a bad week, and they didn't have a good week on this dirt track last year. So did you take that into account when you were handicapping the race?
I honestly didn't. I didn't put a lot of thought into last.
What did you take into account then?
I took some dirt guys that I trust.
You mean the ones that crapped out last year?
Yeah, and you look, they were running well. They just caught up in an incident. So now I'm like, these guys have already raced it on dirt. Granted, it's a new car, but they kind of know what to expect. 3,400 car is a 3,400-pound car. So they're back in it. They're good dirt racers. And you really, surprisingly, get good odds for them. And I also look at last year, the guys that finished up front. And I got it right here. So 30-1, he won. 14-1, second. 25-1, third. 100-1, fourth. 50-1, fifth. 66-1, sixth. A 25-1 guy led the most laps. So it showed you there was really nothing of last year that resembled any you could go off of. And then you look at this year, 7 of the 8 winners are all double-digit odds. So,
well, that's why I didn't put money on Larson, who's the favorite. You guys did, but I was like, 6-1 is okay. It's better than last year when Larson, what was he, 4-1, 3-1 or something?
4-1, 3-1 or 4-1, yeah.
So I was like, okay, then, but 6-1, I was like, well, it's kind of, it's not all that bad, but it's still kind of low for this type of race. And I was like, no, it's not going to do it. I'm not going to put money on the favorite of this race at 6-1. And I just, no. You want to know what Larson was last year?
2-1. I was wondering. I was like, when we started talking, like he might have been 2-1.
2-1 last year.
Show you the defending. That's what I thought was weird. Like the defending champion, who's had some crazy odds all year. He doesn't need him to have those odds. You got him at 6-1.
And you know what Dylan was last year?
8-1, 9-1, wasn't he?
He was the third choice last year. And he's 50-1 this week.
I don't know what I saw CJ's I think they did something wrong. When we get off this call, I meant to do that this morning. I'm throwing the house on him. Just 50-1. The dude's coming off of a runner-up, and I don't know if they just forget to realize, but Austin Dillon ran dirt growing up. This isn't new to him, and in fact, he won a modified race at Bristol last year on dirt, and he's usually good at Bristol. I'm like, wait a minute. You're giving me a dirt guy at 50-1 who just finished second, and you had him at 9-1 last year. Like something's up there. I'm like, do they know something we don't know? Like, is his wife like unexpectedly pregnant we don't know about and is about to give birth, and like he's not going to be there? Like this is weird.
This was last night.
50-1.
Let me check and see if anything changed this morning.
Yeah, last night he was still 50-1.
That's when we started it.
Yeah.
Nope. Oh, he's down to 40-1 now.
So people are starting to. Well, his brother. So we know how well. That's why I took him at 100 to 1.
I'm gonna check out.
Is
Yeah,
Ty Dillon?
who? Oh, Ty
What's
Dillon.
he?
Yeah.
Is he still 100 to 1?
Yes. Oh, Ty. Let me check because I just wanted to. I'm heading over to my sports book to see if they have a different odds number. Nope.
Still
40 to 1
right
on my
now.
sports book.
And
Ty is 125 to 1.
Oh, even better. It's gone even worse. So Ty Dillon, like Austin Dillon, grew up racing on dirt. He's got a dirt background. We've seen what Eric Jones has done as his teammate. He's his teammate. So he's got similar equipment, and the dude has a dirt racing background. And we know, so even though he didn't race last year, I think we can say you can throw everything out the window because I just said the odds of the guys that finished up front. He's 125 to 1 now with a dirt background.
The guy that was 100 to 1 that finished fourth led 58 laps and is now 20 to 1 is Daniel Suarez.
There you go. Yep.
And he did that from the 18th position. So,
and remember, the reason why he probably didn't win, because he had a shot to win. NASCAR moved the single file restarts because it got so dusty. So what happens if they did double file? He might have won. He had a good. So that's don't. Sometimes with these odds for this race, I almost just maybe put the odds aside unless you get a big number on these guys and just go who you feel good about. I mean, Logano went from 30 to 1 with literally zero dirt racing background to stealing this race. And now he's like, what, 8 to 1? Yeah, 8 to 1. He's tied for second best odds. So it's like they just took because he won last year. That I think that's probably why we all stayed away from him. Is I think last year was more of a fluke than anything. And he went from 30 to 1 to 8 to 1.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that we all stayed away from him.
Yeah. I was like, I almost.
But 8 to 1 is a lot different from 30 to 1,
yeah,
and he has to win a second consecutive, and that's in a crazy race. That's going to be very difficult to win back to back.
And he's not won a points race all year. He's only won one points race since the start of last year, and that was this one. So I just don't buy it. I don't think especially when you get so much value for guys. We keep seeing double-digit odds win. There's better value out there.
Well, we have agreed on 4 drivers, and only one as a top contender. And look, that's why I was thinking of Larson, but I was 6 to 1. It's obviously it's a lot better than 2 to 1. Yeah. But Bell, that was where I was okay. Let me go in with Bell because he's just as qualified to win this race, and he doesn't have a win yet, and he's probably overdue. So we all put money on Bell. And then that's it until the long shots. And then we all put money on Suarez, on Stenhouse Jr., and on Austin Dillon, of course. So
yeah, well, Bell is a no-brainer just because his dirt, like you said, he's right there with Larson, and you get 8 to 1, and he's got a Gibbs car, and that's why I don't put a lot of stock into last year. But Suarez, like we just talked about. He led 58 laps. Should have won. He's 20 to 1.
Yeah, still a good number. Got
Stenhouse. Yeah, Stenhouse finished second, and he's a dirt guy. He's just as dirt seasoned as Larson and Bell and those guys, and he's 25 to 1. I'm like, what on earth? I think it goes to show. I don't even know if Vegas knows what they're doing. And they're like, let's just throw some random guy. It's like
it's really the same, with the exception of Bell. It's pretty much the same type of odds you would see on any given week.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what they based it off of is I guess we'll just leave it the same. Even dirt or not experience, because last year, which maybe helped these odds, showed dirt experience really didn't matter last year. Those odds of the guys up front, other than Stenhouse finishing second, it really didn't matter. So they just kind of left it the same. But I feel like they're going to regret the Austin Dillon thing. I feel like they are really.
We hope so.
Yeah, I mean, just with it sitting there yesterday, it's like an oversight.
It's got to win now.
We'll just throw it
in order for us to take advantage of it.
And he was one of the only guys that could pass last week. It's like, so it showed you had a good car, and you given. It almost feels too good to be true. Like, is this free money? But maybe that's their way of getting people to watch. Hey, everybody vote.
No, I don't
bet
think
on Austin Dillon. I don't. The majority of people they're trying to get have no idea who Austin Dillon even is.
Well, where was he last year? Qualifying.
I think he got. I'm not sure where he qualified, but he got caught up in a wreck. I think he got caught up in the Almirola wreck or
Yeah,
something.
he was
He didn't
21st
finish
last
well.
year.
He got caught up in something. So
And that
this
could
is
happen
like
again. I think that's there. I think we've seen this with Vegas and NASCAR. Is they don't necessarily. Sure, there's a few things that they're always going to see and notice to begin with, but for the most part, there are always going to be every week those drivers like we just talked about, whether it's a Dillon or so forth, that they don't really jump on the way they should as far as the odds until practice, until something significant happens, and especially at a dirt race. And I think because of all the craziness maybe that happened last year, and also let's keep in mind, when you do bring down the odds and you have drivers like Harvick at 35-1, and Hamlin usually is no worse than 12-1 is 16, and Blaney 16, and Kyle 16, all of a sudden, you've got to do something. You can't have everybody too far up, and they're probably thinking, look, Briscoe, Reddick, even Bowman, who usually isn't ahead of these guys, they're all ahead of the usual favorites. So even Wallace is at a decent number at 30-1, and both you guys put money on Wallace this week.
Yeah, and he's a good dirt racer too. He won Eldora in a truck, so I'm like, hey, 30-1, you could throw $4 his way and win 120 right back. So yeah, I thought 30-1 was a good number for him. That's a good point. You can't have everybody log jammed with between 12 and 20-1. So you got to have some guys.
Well, there's always going to be that one guy that they're gonna, and Dillon just happens to be that guy this week.
Yeah, I was shocked he was behind like someone like Eric Jones or Cindric. He's got a road racing background, not a dirt racing background, and he's behind those guys. And Harvick and Keselowski don't have much dirt. They're like, he's behind all those guys. So
it's early. It's very possible Dillon those odds could be cut in half even before practice.
Oh yeah, they could. People jump on it, or you could also see, like we talked about in IndyCar. That's why I think a lot of us agreed upon. Normally, the three of us, when we agree upon picks, they're favorites.
Yes,
we've all agreed upon like
long
guys
shots
way down.
Yes,
that it's like an IndyCar type race. That grab those guys now, because if they qualify well, those odds are they're going to skyrocket up. But on the other side, if they qualify well, you might get some of these other guys like a Larson or Bell, if they qualified mid-pack and not so well, they may drop. And
that's what you want. Because I don't think it matters. We saw it last year. I don't think it matters where these guys qualify, to tell you the truth.
No, it's a strategy, and I need to look deeper into it, but I don't think a lot's changed. It's controlled pit stops, and that's what screwed Truex last year. Is it's not you control when you stop. You can gamble. Like Truex led all those laps, but he should have pitted, and I think the sequence before stayed out. He then had to pit, and then that's what kind of flipped the field. That's what flipped, because he led the most laps last year.
By the way, what happened to Truex in the Toyotas last week?
Oh man, they were wet. They keep saying they're guessing right now still, and I think they guessed wrong. But here's the good thing: you know what direction to go in when you come back. So that's a question you'll see is they guessed wrong. They were all terrible, so they know, okay, we have 500 or 400 laps of bad, not necessarily bad info. Now you know what direction not to go when you come back. I expect it to be improved, but you might get him at a low number when you get to. But again, you probably won't, because it's going to be a playoff race and it's going to be the same 8 guys that are, if you're in the running, you're going to be there.
Well,
but
if you look at it, Chevy has been the dominant car so far. In 5, they've won 5 of the 8, and the only ones they didn't win was when Hamlin stole Richmond, Daytona, which anything could happen, and the road course.
That's it. Everything else is all Chevy dominated.
Yeah, so Chevy's been dominating everything. But it's a dirt race, so this is one of those races, though, that qualifies more like, the road course or Daytona, so anything can happen.
I would say you got to, especially with some of the drivers, are probably happy to see Byron over in Austin Dillon or Logano win last week, because it didn't add a new winner. Because you got dirt and Talladega your next 2 weeks. You very well could see 2 long.
Sure.
What if Austin Dillon won? You could have Austin Dillon win this week and Stenhouse Jr. next week. Very realistic shot. Not like I'm saying it's a real, or Michael McDowell. Somebody could win next week. And now you've really shaken things up. So there's going to be some uneasy moments in that garage these next 2 weeks, knowing that the playoff grid could get shaken up even more with 2 wild card races.
Okay, so as far as some of these other long shots, So we mentioned the Dylans that you did and some of the others. So let's see. CJ, you and CJ were very similar in some of your wagers this week. CJ did
Yeah.
put some money, and I did on Harvick, just a little bit, only because he's 35-1. It's such a big number that, I mean, if anything is possible. If Logano won last year at 30-1, so why can't Harvick at 35?
I was going to mention he's the one. He's the Logano of this year. I almost did, but I sided more towards Wallace. I went more with dirt guys, as you noticed my picks: Bell, Larson, Briscoe, Bowman, Stenhouse. I just sided more with dirt guys. Until this will be another. If the dirt guys don't shine, then I know that it doesn't translate over. But all year they've been saying guys with dirt background, this car favors them. So I thought dirt background, dirt track, favored them all year.
All right.
I went with dirt guys. But yeah, Harvick could be this year's Joey Logano. You got him at 30-1 last year and he won. So
okay. So then, since you don't really have, everything is almost like crazy week. Let me make my money back.
Yep.
With the exception of Austin Dillon. So if you had a top 3 this week, what would it be?
If I just took odds out, top 3,
I
I'd say
I
Larson.
want you to keep the odds in.
Keep Larson. Okay, I'd say Larson. Again, the dirt guy. I think he's going to break out of the slump.
Okay.
Austin Dillon.
Okay.
I'd say Dillon. Stenhouse.
Okay.
Would be my 3.
All right. Those are the 3 guys you want. Not Suarez.
Yep. No, I feel like those other just because Dillon won a late model race there last year, and then Stenhouse was second, and they're just good on dirt. And I just feel like Suarez didn't have a lot of dirt experience heading into last year. He just kind of was there, but hey, Trackhouse has improved too. So I would have Suarez if I expanded to 5, I'd have him number 5. I'd probably have a Briscoe or Bowman as a 4.
Really?
And then Suarez right there at
Bowman.
5. Yeah. Bowman. He's a dirt racer. He grew up racing dirt, and he still races dirt when he gets a chance to.
No Bell
so
in your top 5.
There's something about him. I'd have him probably 6 or 7. He's close, but I just feel like there's better value. You're doubling
No, that's true.
You're doubling the odds with it. Now, if he was 14-1, I'd have him in the top 5. But I just same thing. I'd have him. If you take the odds out, I'd have him in the top 5. But with Suarez at 20-1 and Bowman or Briscoe at 14-1, I just like those odds better.
And for somebody who'd been putting money on Jones every week, you avoided Jones this week. You finished in the top 10.
I went with his teammate. Yeah, I went with his teammate at 100-1. I was like, yeah, I almost did. I'm like, hey, for 100-1, you get almost now it's 125. You're tripling the odds for his teammate for a dirt racing background guy. So yeah, normally I probably would have went with Jones at 40-1, but when I saw his teammate back there at 100-1, I snagged him.
Okay, so Talladega next week.
Yep, Talladega.
That's good.
And,
that's gonna be good after what we're probably gonna have to deal with on Sunday night and what we dealt with on Saturday night with Martinsville. So that's gonna be nice. Something that we should be pretty geared up for a good reason. It should be fun. But that's next week, and we can all look again. I guess the worst case scenario is, in a way, is if it actually is a good race. Well, all right, at least it's a good race. But again, I just hope. The problem is even if you hope it's a bad race so they can just get rid of it, I just don't trust NASCAR to do that. I don't trust NASCAR they'll figure out another reason. Well, all right, we'll try it next year on Easter weekend on Saturday. Maybe that's the reason. We'll try that. We'll do it in the daytime. I mean, come on.
I wouldn't mind it working in a sense. As weird as it sounds, I hope nobody really shows up or watches.
Yes.
So, the Easter project doesn't work, but it do good to show that, hey, dirt racing at night is where you need to be. This isn't the weekend, and it opens up. Hey, if it's good at Bristol, why would it not be good at Knoxville? Why would it not be good at Eldora? Why would it not be good? It might open up more doors to get some of these boring tracks to maybe we visit dirt elsewhere. Maybe or like we talk about, again, another stream of revenue. I guess I'm doing NASCAR's job for him at this, where I said you auction off the season finale, and not auction off, but you got to bid for it. Like you bid for the Super Bowl. You bid, so you get a stream of revenue for the bids, and you choose. Can you bid dirt tracks? Can you yell at dirt tracks around the country?
Why
bid
not?
The host? it makes it more special.
Sure.
Maybe you go to Bristol once every 5 years, every 4 years. Maybe that you can still go to Bristol twice, just every 5 years is on dirt, and the dirt track moves. You go to Knoxville, Iowa 1 year. You go to Eldora 1 year. Let these other dirt tracks get a shot, because if this shows it works, then it shows, well, hey, we got a thing here. We don't need to go to the same track every year. Maybe it makes it more special. So, and you let tracks bid, because you keep the money. Hey, send me a $100,000 bid to be in consideration, and then we can figure it out. But
well, maybe next year, if it's a bad race and they come back, then I'll have to take like one of those picket signs and go there, and I'll be the only one there. So I'm sure I'll get some coverage, and I'll have like a big sign, and I'll have a ticket to the race. So I'm going to bring the sign in with me, or if they take it away, which they probably will, I'll have something, snuggle something else inside, and I'll bring it up. That'll say, I want my two Bristol races back. I don't have to word it correctly, but I want my two. No more dirt racing at Bristol. Something.
Yeah, you'll have a lot of support. I think there's a lot of people out there that think that way, that they want to concrete, because it's concrete track, concrete races at Bristol. They don't want. There's other tracks that have dirt. It just doesn't make sense to throw dirt.
Terrible.
I just feel like you're. It's like sacrilegious. It's like that track wasn't made for dirt.
Stupid. They've done a lot of good so far this season, and now we're entering the first stupid thing that we just couldn't avoid. So.
No, it just doesn't make sense. But like I said, Easter weekend, and you add all up, it doesn't make sense, and we can't keep saying it doesn't make sense for it to come out and probably make sense. I have a feeling it's going to not. It'll show.
I hope so. All right, because I don't want to go out there picketing. No. But hey, I'll do it if I have to. And I got a whole year to get ready.
We got plenty of space outside.
That's right.
Go across the track where they can't control you, and we can do a show.
That's right. Yeah.
Get some support.
I'll have to bring you down. Come with me.
Yep.
You'll have the longer drive or the longer flight. I'll have to just drive over, or you can stay with me for a couple days.
There we go. We'll drink some Tennessee whiskey and
have
a show.
I won't be able to drive back home.
Sponsor. That's true.
Yeah. We'll be stuck there. All right. Sounds good, Eric. Again, racereviewonline.net. So you're going to have, again, depending on when this is posted, whether it's Tuesday or Wednesday, on Wednesday, you're going to have all of the race preview postings and everything out there for the race. And what's going to include? What are you going to include on that article?
So I'll have, like we talked about, sleepers, fades, favorites, history, which is not much history for this track. It was 1 year. But history of NASCAR on Easter, and have stuff with the season on it. Like, there you got 78 races, double-digit odds of one. A live bet, which would be on covers too, but like live betting.
Yes.
2 of the first 8 races, the driver who's led the most laps has won. That's it.
Really?
So 6 out of 8 times, the driver that didn't lead the most laps won the race. And I went deeper, and the winner does not come along till the final stage. Austin Cindric, 0 laps led before lap 156 in the Daytona 500. Kyle Larson led 1 lap before lap 167 in Fontana. Alex Bowman only led 13 laps before laps 272 in Vegas. Briscoe only led 19 laps before lap 230 at Phoenix. Byron only led 20 laps before lap 143 at Atlanta. Ross Chastain led no laps in the first 2 stages at Coda. Hamlin led no laps in the first 395 laps at Richmond. Byron led no laps in the first 2 stages at Martinsville.
Interesting.
These guys are all winners. So last year, Logano didn't do much at Bristol in the first 2 stages. Truex did. He won. So I think there's some value to live bet this race. So I've got that all in there for tomorrow. The stage 2 winner, I had this too. They've only won twice all season. So the guy that won stage 2 has only won the actual race twice, which stage 2 is essentially the de facto halfway point. They've only got a top 5 finish twice all year in the final in the race. So, and here I got the eventual the winners of the race. Their finishing position the second stage: 6th in Daytona, 5th in Fontana. Did not even score a point in Vegas. 8th in Phoenix, 9th in Atlanta, 8th in Coda. did not score a point in Richmond, and then second in Martinsville. That's it.
Interesting.
So
the stages are not helping the winners.
It's not this year, which is really weird. So you watch the race. I mean, look, Chase Elliott led the entire race, the first two stages. Blaney led the entire first stage in Richmond. Daniel Suarez led the entire first stage in Coda. So you're seeing guys that start in the top two rows, we'll say, dominate the first stage. The whole thing. They're not winning the race. They're just so if you look at the live odds and you take what we just talked about in this show, which I'll have up in writing. I've already got it done. It'll be done. It'll be posted tomorrow. And you counter all this involved, you're going to get some good odds for a winner on Sunday. So that's what we talked about. It was last week's show or the week before about live betting. This is why. So this is all in the preview article. It's all written. It'll just be posted tomorrow.
Awesome. All right. Good deal, Eric. Appreciate it as always. We'll wrap up Bristol next week and then preview Talladega.
Yep. Sounds good. Thank you.